You are not who you were, but you're not yet who you're trying to be. And that space in between, that uncomfortable, messy, uncertain middle, that is where your entire life is happening right now. Most people spend their whole lives waiting to become someone, waiting for the right moment, waiting for permission, waiting to feel ready. But here's what I need you to understand before this video is over. The person you want to become is not waiting for you at the finish line. They are built one decision at a time, starting right now. Let me ask you something honest. When you look in the mirror, do you see the person you want to be? Or do you see someone still making excuses? You have a vision. You've had it for years. A better version of you. Healthier, stronger. More disciplined, more alive. But somehow, every day passes and that version feels further away, not closer. You start Monday strong. By Wednesday, you're tired. By Friday, you've convinced yourself you'll try again next week. And next week becomes next month. And next month becomes next year. And one day you look up and realize you've been preparing to live instead of actually living. That's not a motivation problem. That's not a discipline problem. That is an identity problem. You haven't failed because you're lazy. You failed because you're still trying to act like someone you want to be, while thinking like someone you used to be. And those two things cannot exist in the same body at the same time. Here's the truth most people never hear. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Read that again. Every decision you make, what you eat, how you spend your morning, who you spend your time with, what you do when nobody's watching. Every single one of those decisions is a vote. A vote for who you are. A vote for who you're becoming. And most people are casting votes for a version of themselves they say they don't want to be. You say you want discipline, but you vote for comfort every morning. You say you want success, but you vote for distraction every evening. You say you want change, but you keep living inside the same old story about who you are and what you're capable of. The problem is not the goal. The problem is the identity you haven't changed yet. Because here's what nobody tells you: successful people don't just do different things. They see themselves differently. The athlete doesn't force themselves to train. They train because that's who they are. The writer doesn't struggle to write. They write it because that's what writers do. The discipline comes from the identity, not the other way around. So the real question is not how do I become more disciplined? The real question is who do I need to become? I want you to stop for a moment and think about the person you want to be. Not the goals they've achieved. Not the money they've made. Not the body they have. Think about how they think. Think about what they do on a Tuesday morning when no one is watching. Think about how they respond when things go wrong. Think about what they refuse to do no matter how they feel. That's the person. Now ask yourself this: what would that person do today? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when they feel motivated. Today. Because here's the shift that changes everything. Stop asking what you need to achieve. Start asking who you need to become. And then, start living like that person right now. Not when you're ready. Not when the conditions are perfect. Not when you've fixed everything in your life. Now, because the version of you that you're waiting to become doesn't appear after you change your habits. They appear because you change your habits. The clothes come first. The confidence follows. The action comes first. The identity follows. You don't wait to feel like a runner before you run. You run, and then you become a runner. That is how identity is built. Not in declarations, indecisions, small ones, boring ones, the ones nobody applauds, the ones nobody sees, the ones you almost skip, but you don't skip them, because that's who you are now. Let me make this real. The person you want to become wakes up with intention. Not because they're naturally motivated, but because they've decided that how they start their morning is a statement about who they are. They don't check their phone first. They don't hit snooze 4 times. They don't drift in the day like a leaf on water. They choose. The person you want to become protects their energy. They say no to things that don't align with who they're building. They understand that every yes is a no to something else. And they choose carefully. The person you want to become does the hard thing first. Not because they enjoy discomfort, but because they know that on the other side of that discomfort is the person they're becoming. The person you want to become doesn't wait for motivation. They know that motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. So they don't wait for the feeling. They create the action, and the feeling follows. Every single day, they do something that the old version of themselves wouldn't do. That's the gap. That's the distance between who you are and who you want to be. Filled in, one decision at a time. 2, now I'm going to ask you something and I need you to answer it honestly. Are you living like the person you want to become? Or are you living like the person you're trying to escape? Because right now, in this moment, you are making a choice. Not a big dramatic choice, a quiet one. The choice to keep doing what you've been doing, or the choice to start doing what that future version of you would do. Most people will watch this video, feel something, and then go back to the same patterns. Don't be most people. The world is full of people who know what they need to do and don't do it. This is your moment of separation, not from other people, from the old version of yourself, the version that procrastinated, the version that made excuses, the version that waited to feel ready. Leave them behind. You don't have to transform overnight. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to take one step in the direction of who you're becoming. Today, right now, after this video ends. One step. That's it. Because greatness is not built in one moment. It's built in the decision to try again when the last attempt failed. It's built in the 5 a.m. when no one told you to get up. It's built in the no when everything inside you wanted to say yes. It's built in the silence, in the grind, in the invisible work that nobody ever sees. 2 here is what I want you to carry when this video ends. You already know who you want to become. You've always known. The version of you that is focused, that is disciplined, that is present, that moves with purpose. That person is not some distant fantasy. They are the most honest version of you, the truest version. And they are waiting, not at the end of the journey, but in the very next decision you make. You don't become that person someday. You become them today, in the way you spend the next hour, in what you choose to do when this video stops playing. The life you want is not somewhere else. It is on the other side of the decision you keep avoiding. So stop waiting. Stop preparing. Stop planning to start. Start living like the person you are becoming. Because that person, they've been ready. They were just waiting for you to decide. If this moves something inside you, don't let that feeling fade. You built something today that the old you wouldn't have built. You made a choice that the old you wouldn't have made. And that's not small. That's everything. Because here's what most people miss. Growth doesn't announce itself. It doesn't send you a notification. It doesn't come with a certificate. It happens in the quiet, in the unseen, in the moments you almost gave up but didn't. You think you're not moving because you can't see the progress. But the tree doesn't stop growing just because you can't hear it. The foundation doesn't stop setting just because no one is watching. You are changing, right now, in ways you won't fully understand until you look back 1 year from today. And when you do, you will not recognize the person you used to be. Not because you became someone else, but because you finally became who you were always supposed to be. So don't stop here. The work is not finished. The story is not over. Every great life has a chapter that looked like failure, a season that felt like silence, a stretch of road with no signs and no applause and no guarantee. You are in that chapter right now. And the people who make it through, they don't make it through because they're special. They make it through because they refuse to let a hard season write the ending of their story. That is you. Refuse. Refuse to quit when it gets boring. Refuse to stop when nobody notices. Refuse to shrink because the world hasn't caught up to your vision yet. Your vision is real. Your work is real. Your becoming is real. Even when it doesn't feel like it. Especially when it doesn't feel like it. Because feeling stuck is not the same as being stuck. Feeling lost is not the same as being lost. Feeling behind is not the same as being behind. These are feelings. And feelings lie. What doesn't lie is the work you put in when the feelings told you to stop. That work is building something solid, something that lasts, something that no one can take from you. So go back to the work, go back to the vision, go back to the person you decided to become, and keep going. Not because it's easy, not because you feel ready, but because you made a decision. And people who honor their decisions, they become people the world cannot ignore. That is who you are becoming, step by step, day by day, decision by decision. Don't stop now. You're closer than you think. Subscribe to Motiverse. Because every week we come back to this place where truth is spoken, where excuses are left at the door, and where the person you're becoming gets stronger. Your journey is not over. It's just beginning.